dropped out of school, poor relationship with education, with my own self-esteem around that time. You know, I was kind of led to believe that I wasn't very bright. I was always very driven as far as I wanted to be successful at something. When I left Fort William and joined the army, it's like you've got this sense of community all of a sudden. You've got this sense of, brotherhood. You develop this persona. You've put on layers to get through it, because you've got to go to fucking Afghanistan or Iraq.
Like you've done, which is even bigger in the SAS. Would you say would that be the case as well? And
you're conditioned in a way that you need layers of armour. But when you then move on to your next part of life, that armour has to be dismantled, and it can be frightening.
On this episode of the Elite Podcast, I speak to Lindsay Bruce, former SAS operator and now self-development and mindset coach. Lindsay, how you doing?
Very well. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good. Really good to see you.
Likewise, mate. Always a pleasure.
So you've travelled all the way down from
Hereford,
all the way across. Then is that across or down?
Up, yeah, all the way up north. Yes, it's about 2.5 hours.
Oh, brilliant!
2.5, 3 hours.
Okay, well that's great.
Yeah,
we were here as well, I believe, last week, Liverpool.
It feels like I'm never away from the place at the minute. It's like I came up for the trophy parade with my son, so that was cool.
Brilliant. So you're both Liverpool fans tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Brilliant. Yeah. Well, so great to have you on. So I've been speaking to you for some time now, haven't I, for a few months, backwards and forwards. Really interested in what you do. I think it's amazing, by the way. I think what you do, the value you create in society with kind of men. Is it mainly like kind of working middle-aged men, 30s up, would you say?
It's men over 40. It's categorised as men over 40, but typically, I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, but it's usually actually men over 50. The majority of my clients are all 50 plus, with the odd exception of some guys in their 30s. I mean, there's one guy on the project, going back a few years ago now, he was like 22, which was a rare exception, but he was just so impressive. You know, when you get a guy, you just think, this guy's exceptional. Like he applied for my program, and he says, I know it's men over 40. He says, but I just really want to be on it. He goes, and I want you to give me a chance to, because I think you'll be really effective as a coach. And he was one of those, I say kids, but he was a monster of a man. And about 22 years old, keen as mustard, just driven beyond belief. And he absolutely smashed it out of the park. Stayed on board for about, I think, 6 months to a year. And then that was him, but he was a rare exception. Usually it's like the men over 40s market.
Yeah.
And like I say, it just so happens that most of the guys are like 50 plus.
Yeah. I mean, that's great. I mean, you see, when you're younger as a man, you've got your mates around you, haven't you? Especially people like ourselves that have been in the military. You just, there's people around you all the time. There's men around you, testosterone's high, you're bantering, you're there for each other. You've always got someone to go out with and do something with. And I think, when people get older, even military people, they get out eventually, and civilians, and you get a family, you get your kids, and kind of more time spent with them, isn't it? And perhaps your job, and then they miss in that really important kind of male bonding. And is it that what you do as well? You bring them together?
Yeah, that's what I've noticed because I've been doing this about 5 years now, and that's one of the things that has been more prominent to me, is that there's a real common theme of guys who have been through a certain process in their careers, for example. So let's say it could be military, it could be fire service. It doesn't really matter what it is, but as guys get to a certain age, it's almost like they feel that they are, an example would be someone coming out of the military. If they've been in the military for 20 odd years, it's a huge part of their identity.
Yeah.
And part of that identity comes with community, comes with that sort of, not a tribal mentality, but I suppose it kind of is, but they're part of something. They're part of something bigger than them. And so they've got purpose. They've got a sense of meaning. And I think that the common theme for me that I notice with the guys is that they kind of feel like they're losing that, to the point where it's like, and I've been through this myself, you almost start to not forget who you are, but you don't really know who you are anymore.
Definitely.
So it's about finding who you really are with all that taken away. And that's not to say that they need something else to replace that. So then they come into the Modern Warrior Project and that community replaces what they had. So it's like, well, it doesn't really matter about that. We'll just give you another community to be around. It's a strong part of it, but I think what we do within the process we follow, we sort of help unpack themselves, so they start to discover who they really are at the core. And a strong point with that is when you look at someone who is part of something bigger when they're in their first half of their life, for example, and they attach themselves to that, and they kind of can't let go. They just can't let go of the fact that they were a soldier, they were a firefighter, whatever it might be, and they can't let go of that identity. So they really struggle to integrate in other means, or they struggle to be around their families, or they just feel lost.
Yeah.
And so what we do is we help them realize that they've got something else ahead of them. So there's another half of your life to go. There's a second mountain, so to speak. And it's about unpacking what they need to then go on that journey, rather than just be stuck in present past thinking of how they used to be, what they used to do, the good old times.
Yeah, of course.
So it's about what's ahead rather than, just reminiscing about the past.
Yeah, that's really good, because the second half of your life, you're a different person as well, aren't you? But
you
you
really
should be
are.
able to build upon what you were rather than just identify. You see this with a lot of people that have, especially within my regiment, the parachute regiment as well. And for a lot of people that are in the parachute regiment, so the guys, they get out, it's the best thing they've ever done their whole life and the best thing they ever will do. And it's like a distant memory. It's something they've done, they've attained, and everything seems to be a bit shit after that. And they kind of live in the past a lot, back to it. So for me, it was one of the things I did, and it gave me the tools to then cope with doing the next big challenge in my life. And I was able to kind of springboard off it and grow from that, and keep some of the lessons learned and dismiss some of them as well, because you need to kind of evolve and grow with things, don't you? So is that what the plan is?
That's a good point, because that's a good segue into that subject of what serves you at one part of your life doesn't necessarily serve you moving forward.
100% with you on that.
Because you need, the thing is, when you're a young, well, I don't know, you probably joined the army similar age to I did.
Yeah.
Right? You're in your teens or thereabouts, right? So you're a young, impressionable character. You don't really have much else going on. Well, I didn't anyway. The army was the only perceived option at the time for me. Because I didn't have any qualifications. I lived in a very small town that there was nothing really going on there.
What town was that?
Fort William.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that's for those listening that don't know where Fort William is, it's a small town in the west coast of Scotland, northwest coast of Scotland.
Beautiful part of the world as well.
It's a beautiful place geographically.
Yeah.
But
to look at.
I don't think it's a good place to live.
No.
Unless that's just something that suits you. And it does work for people. But I could never live there again. I love the place, but I like to visit and then go away again. But there wasn't much going on for someone like me. I dropped out of school. I had no qualifications. I had a job, but it was a job that I was doing because I needed money. And I remember actually, so this job that I had, I worked as a welder and fabricator in this little workshop, and I did like it. I mean, I was actually quite good at it as well.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it because I've got the kind of a creative mind, and I can apply myself practically. I pick things up fairly easily if it's something I'm interested in.
Yeah.
So I worked in this place, and it was obviously full of lads there was a handful of lads, they were all older than me. So I was just this young apprentice, and at the end of every week, I'd get my extra money because I'd stay on and do some extra hours. So I was in like the YTS. Remember the YTS schemes? So I was in this YTS scheme, and I would pay something like £30 a week for a full week's work. And because I worked overtime and I didn't take my lunch break, that was like the norm, because the guys get paid double time if they worked at lunch. So I would just work with them because, I didn't want to ostracize myself and go, well, I'm going to take a lunch break. So I did what they did. And then at the end of every week, I would have this little brown envelope with some extra money in it, like £20 for the week.
It's all right if you're on £30 a week.
Yeah, what am I going to do with all this money? So I would go to the pub. I wasn't old enough to drink, so I was like 16. I'd go to the pub with all these older guys, and initially it was like, this is brilliant, because like they're like buying me beer, and I felt like a man before my time, sort of thing, And then remember there was one day I was stood there, and I looked around, and I had that realization. I was like, this is going to be my life. And no offense to them, they were good guys, but I looked around, I was like, that's going to be me in 12, 15 years from now. And I was like,
was it like a penny dropping moment?
Yeah,
like,
it was.
Because that's good when you first leave school and you start working. Everything's exciting, isn't it? And to get a job's exciting, and maybe doing it for a year or so. But then it was like, that's it now. That's the trajectory, and it doesn't really go much up from.
Well,
that.
I had this foresight. It was like you visualize it all like it's happening right in front of you. I thought, nah, something else. But so for me anyway, I had to get out of that place. So when I left Fort William and joined the army, that was kind of like an only option for me. And when you join the army, I think what we were saying initially with that part was that when you join the army, it's like you've got this sense of community. All of a sudden, you've got this sense of brotherhood, and it's all new. And when you're like that, you're very impressionable. So at that part of your life, and when you join the army, especially the parachute regiment, right? I mean, it's very much it's like a cult mentality because it has to be. So you're then indoctrinated into this way of life with these other people who just become like little minions together because it's all working together as cogs in a machine, and you are conditioned to that. So if you stay in that for even several years, and definitely if you stay in for your full time, readjusting after that, I used to think it was bullshit. I used to think, why do people? When I got out of the army, I used to think, what's this big fuss about having to readjust the Civvy Street? And it's easy. It's just a case of getting on with it. But when I was doing it, I thought it was easy. It wasn't till years later, retrospectively, I said, I actually fucking struggled with that. I didn't know at the time, but in hindsight, I was like, I did struggle. And it's just because I could see all the things that unfolded in time with relationships, with work, with people.
Yeah,
I didn't readjust that easy.
Relationships is tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I used to, for years, whenever I had a girlfriend, I would have, it's kind of dopamine hits, ups and down, and your whole life is like that. So I'd see a girl, see them at a weekend, loads of time together, absolutely love it. Then you're away for a few weeks. Then you miss them, and then you're back and you're with them. And so I was used to that level of missing someone and then excitement and when you're just with someone, it's just normal and flat. I was like, I need a bit of drama here. Better start creating some subconsciously within the relationship.
Well, that's the thing. That's the interesting thing about when you talk about like human needs.
Yeah.
Tony Robbins talks a lot about this. He talks about the 6 human needs.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like certainty, uncertainty, or / variety, significance, love and connection, growth and contribution. But when you look back to the certainty and uncertainty, certainty is great because we need mostly certainty.
Yeah.
Women typically need more certainty than guys do. Guys tend to fly by the seat of their pants a lot more than women do. Because primarily we're wired for risk.
Yeah.
Right? So when you look at the uncertainty / variety, that's a big part of it. It's a big part of just like, going out there and living your life and taking risks and not having it the same all the time. You need an element of that, but I think where people get it wrong is that they then chase too much uncertainty. And then that fucks things up. That just causes chaos.
Yeah, of course it does.
So you need order within the chaos. It's the sprinkle of chaos with mostly order.
Yeah, that's
unfortunately, what we end up doing as soldiers, it's mostly chaos with a little bit of order now, and that's forced upon you.
With massive self-sabotaging as well. Just
huge.
Like, you got a big event the next day, everyone just goes on the piss. And it's like, but that's just kind of representative to the mindset and how you do everything all the time. I think
it's a coping mechanism as well. Because when you're in the army, like you're treated a certain way that you become used to. And again, it's because it's part of the way the machine has to work. But with that, it's got there's 2 sides of the same coin there. So it's like the work hard, play hard.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
You get, disciplined and doing your job. Could be going on a tour, could be just working in camp. But then the weekend hits and all sorts of
it's like a different person. Where's the discipline? If you're disciplined, you'd go to bed early though, wouldn't you? And plan. So you do everything, all your planning, get everything lined up, and then absolutely just go wild.
Well, you've got a default setting as well, though. You've got especially I was in the RHF before I joined the regiment, so when you think about where that regiment recruits from, it's Glasgow and Ayrshire. I mean, I was a hillbilly from Fort William that only joined because my dad was in the RHF. My brothers joined the RHF because of my dad. So it was our family regiment, but it wasn't the geographical regiment.
So the RHF, just want to tell everyone else that's listening what that stands for.
So it's a Royal Highland Fusiliers. It's not. So it's now two Scots. Become part of the Royal Regiment of Scotland. That all changed after I left the RHF. But so I was in the Royal Highland Fusiliers. And, they recruited from Glasgow and Ayrshire. And if you join the infantry and you're from Glasgow or Ayrshire, it's usually because you can't really join anything else.
Yeah, limited options.
You've got limited options. So the infantry's full of it's like one flew over the cuckoo's nest.
Yeah,
a lot of the time. So when you've got a professional army, and part of that professional army is infantry soldiers who need to be gnarly hard bastards, because that's what the infantry does.
Absolutely, yeah.
So there's a need for that. So the recruitment process, they have to recruit. They couldn't fucking, there's certain people who couldn't do that job. But with that, you've got a hardwired condition in there of young men who are probably brought up in unsavory environments, to say the least, and then they're then indoctrinated into this system that wants it to behave a certain way, and then they're let out on fucking day release to go in the piss. So you add alcohol to that and a few other things. It's a melting pot of chaos.
Recipe for fun or,
and that was the weekend,
or disaster,
probably
or both.
Where were you based when you were in?
So Dover primarily,
and
then but before that it was Aldershot. That's where obviously the parachute regiment were. And then at the end of my career, as I was leaving, it all moved. The Airborne Brigade all moved to change to 16 Air Assault Brigade instead of 5 Airborne Brigade, and all went to Colchester.
Oh yeah.
So a few different areas.
Yeah,
so I've been on the piss and in all the areas.
And those military towns, they see some chaos.
Yeah, especially Aldershot was. That was a really odd. Did you ever?
Unfortunately, the only time I was ever in Aldershot was for a funeral. Yeah. And I went to a bar called, is it the Traff?
Oh yeah, you went to the Traff, did you?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think you got to when you're
yeah.
So some of the lads, obviously ex-parachute lads, and that was I'll go to the Traff. It was just a shrine.
Yeah.
For the parachute regiment. It was fucking cool, actually. It was a really good pub. We stayed in there all day.
Did you?
Yeah, it was good. It was magic. Yeah,
it is. It's great. It's crazy. It's a really unique places to go on to these garrison towns. I'm not sure if it's still the same now. I'm sure it probably is, but I think things were quite different culturally, weren't they, in the 90s, in early 2000s
I think
as well.
So. It's massively changed.
Yeah, even since COVID, I don't think pubs are as busy and people go out as much. And I know that accommodations changed. It's not like collective now.
Even like, I mean, when I think of Hereford, I think of the regiment, like that was always the more grown up.
Yeah, of course.
Part. I mean, again, strangely enough, all the guys in the regiment mostly come from the aforementioned backgrounds we were just talking about. So, council estates, infantry, then that progresses to the regiment. But by the time you get to the regiment, it's a different environment. It's like a higher level of conditioning to get into that regiment, obviously. So you can't be the way that you were. No. Although some guys still often drop the fill at the weekends and shit like that. But
can't be having naked bars in Aldershot and stuff.
Still,
even though they do. Can't be getting caught. Sorry, should I say?
Can't be getting caught.
Yeah.
But when I look at the typical man, typical soldier from the regiment nowadays, I mean, I've been out quite a long time, but apparently it's a very changed environment. So like when I joined, it was still very much a drinking culture.
Yeah.
And I think that's really diminished now. It's not gone, but it's way less than what it used to be. It used to be a case of, you live in the block, go in the piss 3-4 times a week sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it was a lot, I remember when I first got there, I had more money than I'd ever had. Still shit money, but it was more than I'd had before.
Yeah.
And things weren't as expensive back then.
No, that's true.
Single, living in the block. There was a handful of us the same. So we all used to get together at the weekends and around about that, and we'd go in the piss several times a week. And these days it's just different, you just don't see that. And a lot of the guys live out. I think a lot of the guys live in, other areas. They commute to work. It's not like living in camp. Up there's like a garrison now. It's not like it's just a regiment anymore with a few attached. It's like the regiment's like a part of it, of a bigger thing. So I think in general it's just a changed culture. And my nephew Dale, he's in the that new Ranger battalion.
Okay, how's that getting on?
I think he really likes it. I've not spoken to him for a while, but he really enjoys it, and he's done really well for himself. And when I look at him as, he's the young Bruce in the military, I look at him and the way he conducts himself and what he's into. He's like very much into his own sort of personal development, his fitness. He's an absolute animal when it comes to his fitness. So he's a typical example of, I've seen actually the transition in his career since he joined. So when he joined as a young soldier, I remember going to his passing out parade, many years ago. And I think he's maybe a full school sergeant now. But I've seen how he's changed in that sense through his time in the army. You know, you'd see him going on the piss constantly with his mates, and it was very much part of still that drinking culture. And then as he's progressed through, I think as the army's changed, I've seen that within him. Because obviously, I'm connected with him. But I think that's a general consensus that the young lads that are joining the regiment now, or even the infantry, they're more stable. They're in the one location. They have houses. They're less into going in the piss. I think I think the whole culture of going in the piss has changed.
That's probably just the culture in general, isn't it? With people probably 20, 30 years younger than us, which would be joining.
Which is a good thing.
30 years younger. Really I'm 48, so I joined 30 years ago. So
you're actually just a little bit older than me. I'm not 48 till Tuesday.
Tuesday.
That's Tuesday.
Oh, yeah. Well, happy birthday for Tuesday. I think the culture of the country, of the whole of the UK, has probably changed, hasn't it? And COVID as well, and prices going up, and all the rest of it. But I think the army is definitely more mature, and you can get away with a lot less.
Yeah.
There's more and more rules, policies, and flipping safeguarding constantly, isn't there? I think that always happens, doesn't it? Until there's a war, and then it all drops away, and they stop worrying so much about that stuff because you don't have a manning problem normally when there's a war. Apparently, whenever there's a war on, they don't need to worry about recruiting because it's on the TV, it's everywhere. Yeah. People are like, when Afghan was on, there was just constant numbers of people wanting to join up, and now the army's so undermanned now because people are going in like, what we're going to do. Yeah. And I think you recruit the right people when there's a war on as well.
Because you know the ones that want to go forward. Yeah, definitely.
So, how long did you spend in the Highland Fusiliers then?
5 years. First 5 years.
5 years. So, how old was you when you joined?
17.
Okay, yeah, so your baby.
Yeah,
so
I was.
Why was it the army then? What is it like? Was that the only choice? Did you not have any kind of qualifications?
Well, the story I'm about to tell you is a bit shameful, actually. But I own it now. I own it, and I own it because it's like the sliding doors effect. Had I been successful at a certain thing, my life may have looked very different.
Yeah.
Right? So when I was 16, I've said this before, so it's all right. There's going to be more people listening probably. So when I was 16, I'd left school at 15, and as I said, had no qualifications. I struggled all through school. So school was just a bad experience for me, apart from when it was kicking about with my mates. That was all right, but the school system and the whole education process just didn't ever feel right to me. It felt, I just hated it. And that obviously resulted in me not doing very well at school. So I had this really poor relationship with education, with my own self-esteem at the time. Around that time, I was kind of led to believe that I wasn't very bright. And when I then left, all I wanted to do was go and earn money. I was always very driven as far as I wanted to be successful at something. I just didn't know what it was at the time. And then I always liked the idea of the military because my brothers were in, my dad had been in. And I guess around that whole being a squaddy thing, that was a sense of real significance and identity. Everyone, squaddies got attention from the girls. People looked up to squaddies as being like hard men and stuff like that. So I always liked that idea of me being one of them. I thought, this is going to be good for me because I was always a really shy kid. And I didn't have much confidence.
So you wanted to kind of develop yourself into the man you wanted to be then. So you took the trajectory you needed to take.
So that felt like something that was challenging, something that I really wanted to prove myself with. So there was part of me that wanted to emulate my brothers, my dad, but there was also a part of me that wanted to do something a bit different. And so I was looking around at brochures and stuff. I'd gone into the not the careers office, the job centre, because we didn't have an army careers office in Fort William, you see. So the job centre, there was part, and I was in cadets and stuff as well. I'd been in cadets for a few years. So I remember getting these brochures, and one was for the parachute regiment, one was for the Marines.
Yeah.
Right. And I thought it's either going to be the paras or the Marines. Now around the time there was quite a few guys from Fort William who had joined the Marines. The Marines was Fort William was quite a popular recruiting area for the Royal Marines. So I'd heard a lot of it being spoken about. And there was also, when I'd been in my YTS thing, there was an old guy, I say old, he's probably like 50 odd then, but he seemed old at the time. He had been in the Marines and he used to talk about it. So I guess it was just a bit of influence from a few factors. I thought, you know what, I think I would quite want to join the Marines. Quite fancy that. So I applied to join the Marines. And because there was no recruitment office and no careers office in Fort William, they did everything from the job centre. Your initial test and stuff was in the job centre. The job centre.
It's crazy that is.
I know, but I remember this day like it was yesterday, and it's kind of funny, right? Because just being a little naive 16-year-old at the time, I always remember this. I went into the local, I think at the time it was like Safeway or something, like the supermarket. I went to the supermarket and I bought a can of Red Bull, right? Because I thought that I was going to go to this job centre and they were going to give me a fitness test somewhere. And I was just kind of fucking thick back then. I kind of must have been a bit solid. So I was like, I'm going to do, like, they're going to get me to do pull-ups and stuff like that, because I know you have to do 10 pull-ups. So I'd been in the gym and stuff to get myself fit. I was always really fit. And got my tracksuit on. I thought, I'm ready. Got my can of Red Bull, nicked that, went to the job centre, and I walked in the job centre and the guy was stood there, this old boy who was doing the interview. And he's just looked at me, he says, what are you doing turn up like that, son? I was like, well, for my fitness test. He just laughed. He says, no, you're not going to do any fitness test today. He goes, this is just a written test. I was like fucking sweating. Give me fitness all day long. Give me pull-ups, give me press-ups. Easy. As soon as you put a pen in my hand, I was like, okay, this is not my comfort zone.
Was it the Navy's one that you have to do as well?
Yeah, so it was quite hard.
It's way harder than the Army.
Oh, it was a lot harder. But all the general stuff, like the general IQ stuff, it was like, that was kind of straightforward. I was always okay with stuff like that. But then I had a maths test. So I was honestly, I was nervous, right? And I just thought, I can't do this. So I started doing all the math stuff and I was like, I don't know how to do any of this. So I just thought, I'm failing this. There's just no way I'm passing this. But what they do is you've got to get an average, it's an accumulative score through the whole thing. So they accumulate at the end and you've got to have a minimum pass mark. And he came in after being in for my test, and then had to go and wait, and then I went back in again. And he had this look about me. He's like, I knew it was coming. And he says, you failed.
Oh, shit.
You failed the entrance exam for the Marines. And I was like, what did I fail on? He says, you didn't get any of the maths questions right. He says, you actually did okay in the other stuff. And if you'd done the same in the maths test, you'd have passed with flying colours. He goes, but you did that badly in the maths test that you failed overall. I was devastated. So next thing you know, the pub that I used to go to as a 16-year-old, like with my workmates, I was in that same pub with my tracksuit on with a pint that I shouldn't have had in my hand because I was too young to drink.
Yeah.
And I was drowning my sorrows. And then the worst part about that was he said, you've got to wait 12 months before you can reapply.
Oh, shit.
I thought it was a bit fucking harsh.
Yeah.
So he said, you've got to wait 12 months. So I was like, what am I going to do now for the next year? Like, what am I going to do with myself? Like, I'm at a dead end here. Anyway, my brothers were home that week and I told him about it. And he just said, the fuck you want to join the Marines for anyway? He goes, join the RHF. Well, we'll get you in the RHF. He says, the test for that's dead easy. You'll pass out with flying colours. So the next thing you know, within no time, I was marched up to the careers office in Inverness. Did the exam, no problem. It was like, he wants to join the RHF, my brother said.
He came with you, did he? Make sure.
Yeah, so they both came with me.
Yeah, to make sure.
We made a day trip out. We made a day trip out. It was like a family outing.
Yeah. You can get railroaded otherwise as well, can't you?
Yeah.
Like, I'm afraid there's no spaces, but the guards have got space. So
that's
the careers office is like in charge of it normally.
The guy was a Scots guard.
Was he? Yeah.
But he was sound. But so within no time it seemed I was in the RHF.
Brilliant.
Started basic training. So that was the Marine story. So the failed entrance exam was kind of. It seemed like a bit of a curse at the time, but it was obviously a blessing.
Well, there you go. They missed out on getting a good one then, because obviously you went on to do lots of bigger and better things.
End up talking funny and saying things like having a wet, and floating the galley and shit like that.
So you did that. You joined up. How did you find basic training stuff? Was it easier, or did you find it hard, or did you enjoy the challenge?
Duck to water, honestly.
Yeah, just straight to it. Like, this is where I'm meant to be.
I did really well in basic training. You know what? I think it was a case of there was still certain theory stuff within the basic training syllabus that still made me question myself, because obviously it's that whole relationship with study. And
in what way? Academically?
Just academically. I think it's just the whole relationship with having pen and paper and I just struggled with it, unless I was drawing pictures. I was always good at art. But when it comes to anything academically, I think I just had that pre-perceived lack of confidence, and I taught myself out of something or convinced myself I couldn't do something before I'd even started it. That took some time to overcome. And I would say that even through my whole army career, I think any time I got a written test for any course that I was on, even if I did well, I would always be nervous. I mean, everyone's nervous, isn't it? But I would always have that
little bit of self-doubt in that area.
Yeah, I'd always have
trust yourself on everything else, but that's the one bit you're a bit unsure.
Yeah. But the thing is, when it came to all the other stuff, like whether it be learning how to do weapon handling or drill,
practical
or fitness, everything practical, I just excelled at. I was good at all of that.
You ADHD or anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably have to be just undiagnosed ADHD.
Yeah,
you can't sit down and learn.
I put my house in that, actually. Yeah. So it's just one of those things that, you know, some people are good at something. I mean, I think it's to do with the whole left and right brain thing. Some people are like left brain dominant, very academic, and then other people that's kind of like switched off, or tampered down, and it's all about creativity. Yeah,
that's absolutely.
We were talking before this, remember? And I said, look, certain parts of my business I really struggle with, and I've accepted the fact that one, I'll probably never be good at it because I don't enjoy it, and I think you've only, you know, time is finite, so you got to decide, what do you want to spend your time doing? Are you going to just slave away at something that is kind of futile because you're never going to enjoy something, and you're probably never going to be that good at it where you can just outsource that? I mean, what's the point? And there's other things in business, as you know, you just have to learn. You have to just you know, roll up your sleeves and get on with it. And you have to learn to then pass it on to someone else or to understand how it works. But there are other things you just think, what's the fucking point in ever pursuing that? Because it's just not something that floats my boat.
No, I really struggle on things I'm not interested in. I really, even just talking to people I'm not interested in.
I can't surprise you're still here.
I'll just literally I'd zone out. I get told off all the time. Like, my wife's like, do you know how rude you were then? I was like, it's unconscious. I literally must physically do like a child and just like slump in my seat. Because I'm obviously ADHD as well. I've never been officially diagnosed, but one of the kind of the traits of it, should we say, is that someone will be talking and you know what they're going to say before you know how the sentence is going to finish. You have to fucking sit there and listen to the rest of it.
You want to finish it for them.
Might as well be in plank position, just waiting, because that's what it feels like. You know, just waiting for them to. And another trait of ADHD is that I'm really good at big things. Like if there's an emergency, or I've got a big business meal, or I've got a rise. When I used to fight in big events, I used to do really well. When I'd done courses, I'd normally rise up with the challenges. But when it's something's, and I'm calm, and I never lose my composure in business ever, and I can have a really difficult conversation with someone, be totally composed, and normally get a good kind of outcome out of it. But then I'll be opening a can of beans won't open, and they'll be all over the fucking kitchen. Do you know what I mean? Like the small things will just snap.
I know. Yeah, I get that. I really get that. And it's like I was talking about this morning to my girlfriend. It was like, I have the capacity and the ability to do loads of things really quickly under the pressure of time.
Yeah.
I can fucking smash through stuff. And I say to myself, why don't I just do that more? Like, why don't I do that all the time? It has to be under pressure.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah,
you've got a deadline to meet, or whatever it is. You get it all done really quickly, but then you realise that I've actually fucked around and procrastinated for like
self-sabotage
3 hours before.
Yeah, putting yourself under unnecessary time restrictions that you perform.
I was like, and something to the point where sometimes, like, because I go through this all the time in my head, and I think a lot of my clients get the benefit of me being able to sort of empathise with them when they tell me about these struggles. I'm like, I get that. I do that as well. I get that as well. And it's like, you know, being in the pursuit of, self-betterment, try to develop your skills, just trying to improve yourself, your habits, your fucking outlook, whatever it is. It's very much a gradual thing. It takes a long, long time. And I have some days when I just, if I've done the same thing maybe 2 or 3 days in a row, that's self-sabotage based. And I sometimes have that thought to myself, like, am I ever going to fucking change?
Yeah.
Is this just a pointless, should I just surrender to this thing and say, you know what, I'm probably always going to do this. Stop fucking stressing about it. Just accept it's part of my personality and get on with it. Because the amount of times I fucking bang my head against the wall because I keep on doing something that's self-sabotage based. I'm like, fuck me, why do I keep on doing the same thing?
Yeah.
Here I go again. I've just done it again.
At least you're conscious of it though.
It's like
some
staying
people are unaware, aren't they? Like doing what, sorry?
Staying up late at night.
Yeah.
Like, that's one that a lot of guys that are high performers, busy in their own businesses or in the corporate world or whatever, guys who are just generally busy, you know. a lot of them, what they do is they get time to themselves by doing things like staying up late at night. So they'll stay up late at night and then regret staying up late at night because they'll be going to bed going, fuck, I'm going to be tired in the morning again. But they feel it's the only chance to get to sort of decompress and unwind. But it's sabotaging them because they're then tired the next day, so they're not performing optimally because they're just not managing their time properly.
Unless you put yourself under a time restraint now, and now you're actually able to perform. But it's just a shit. It's a shit show because it's not as enjoyable to do, is it? When you've done that to yourself.
But it takes time, and I think that one of the things that people need to understand with trying to transform themselves, if someone's never been an avid gym goer, if they've always been bad with their diet, they've got a poor relationship with food, if their timekeeping's bad, if they procrastinate a lot, if they self-sabotage, these are all things that are not in line with your values. So you've got the stuff that you really want to, the stuff in life that you really value. Like, I want to be happy, I want to be healthy, I want to be in a good relationship, I want to feel like I'm fulfilled in life, I want to feel successful. So you've got all the shit that people want, and then you've got the other stuff they don't want, which is like, well, I don't want to feel like I'm fucking lazy, like I'm fat, like I'm useless, like I'm fucking angry. It could be anything they don't like. Yeah, all the behaviours align with the stuff they don't want.
Yeah.
So it's like the classic inner conflict of like, why am I doing the shit that's giving me all the stuff I don't want?
Yeah. Do you think it's because what you said earlier about getting that variety as well and inconsistency? Because it does get a bit, you get all your routine, your diet, your training, you do that for 3.5 weeks. You're like, okay.
I think
I'm looking good, but I'm a bit bored. Yeah. I think I need to go on the piss. Or
I think after doing this for so long now, I think it always comes down to identity and your core beliefs. So the core beliefs are something that it's like meta programs. It's like they talk about in things like NLP. There are certain things that are just hardwired within you, and it has been for a very long time. So when you're trying to change something, you've got a task in your hands because you're trying to rewrite a fucking program. And part of that program is like having the worst virus ever in the computer. Like, it's trying to get rid of it to then replace it with a new program. It's like updating your software in your Mac. It's like getting a new operating system. It makes everything work better, right? So when you think about the human brain being like that, you've got all these hardwiring, this neurocircuitry that's hardwired, and it has been for a long time. Trying to just kill that overnight and replace it with something new, it's quite hard. It's fucking difficult. And it takes time. It takes time. It's never going to be as quick as you think it's going to be, but with perseverance, you can get there.
Yeah.
But it's consistency and accountability. And
absolutely. It's not even massive changes sometimes. It's just micro changes, but staying consistent with it.
I think
micro changes is probably the best way to do it. But being consistent, just get those boxed so they kind of become muscle memory and part of your repertoire of what you're doing.
Yeah.
You become unconscious of them then. It's like, I'll get up at that time now. That's just what I do. It's not even something you need to think about. And then you do the next thing, don't you? It's like, right, I'll only eat carbs once a day in one of my meals. And then you don't even think about that. And that's what you do. And you get the benefits from that. And then, okay, I'm going to get myself to bed a little bit earlier on 4 nights a week.
Yeah.
But all these little small things then compound, and kind of your confidence goes up in yourself then, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's the feedback you get, because I think it's like, have you ever listened to like somebody like Joe Dispenza says this? He said that you're always going to want to do the thing that's normal, the thing that's familiar.
Yeah. So
when it comes to changing a habit, when you've not got that habit in place, when you've got a bad habit in place that's getting you to where you don't want to go, and you want to adopt a habit that's going to get you to a different outcome, then again, that's like those neurons in the brain have to be, you have to let one connection die to let one connection fire enough so that it becomes hardwired.
Yeah.
So like the old saying, neurons that fire together wire together. So but it's a process, right? And the threat of those old connections that have been hardwired for a long time, if you break them or let them die a little bit, it's very easy to spark them back up again, because that's kind of like your default go-to setting. So it's really difficult. The habit change is so difficult because of that. And because you've been doing it, the body doesn't like change. The mind doesn't like change. It likes to do the familiar thing. It likes to do what's easy. So when you're trying to change a habit, if it's something you do in the morning, if you want to stop going on your phone first thing in the morning because it's making you late for work because you're scrolling TikTok or fucking Instagram, or you're getting out of bed later because you've been fanning about on your phone, or it's just bad for you because the first thing you do in the morning is look at blue light. If that's the habit you want to change, but you keep on doing it, that's because you've been doing it all for so long that your brain is going, do that thing you did yesterday and the day before and the day before that. So when you stop doing the thing that you normally do, and then you change the habit, every part of you is going, what the fuck are you doing? Like, do the thing you normally do. This feels better. It's comfortable. It makes you happy because it's like you're getting the dopamine. You're getting the dopamine hit from doing the thing that because you only do it because of dopamine. That's all it is. It's the only reason is because of dopamine addiction. So every part of you is going to say, do the thing you normally do. So you have to be disciplined and really committed to that new habit to say, no, I'm going to delay gratification because I know that 10 minutes from now, when I get out of my bed and I get on with my day, I'm instantly going to get feedback that I have done the right thing. So that's where the dopamine comes from. It's a slight delay. It's like the old marshmallow test that they did with kids. Remember you heard of the famous marshmallow test they did with kids years and years ago? So they did this test with these kids. I forget where it was, what school it was in, or how old the kids were. They were small children. And they said to each child, there's a marshmallow. You can eat one marshmallow now, or you can wait 20 minutes and get 2 marshmallows. So it was all to do with instant gratification versus delayed gratification. Coincidentally, the kids that delayed gratification and waited 20 minutes, when they followed up years later in the school system with these same kids, on average, the ones who had delayed gratification did better at school and were doing better in life as a result of that, because they weren't fixated with that instant gratification of dopamine. Now, don't wait. And if you think of the process or the way that habit works, if you look at any habit that you do or someone does that they don't want to do and they want to do something instead, it's all to do with instant gratification versus delayed gratification. Because going to the gym, you're not getting instant gratification by doing the thing you don't want to do. If it's something you don't want to do, because some people, you love training, I look forward to training, but you don't always look forward to going to the gym. No. Sometimes you got to drag your ass there, right? Because you know that you're going to feel better. So you can delay gratification. So you can know that as soon as you walk into the gym or you do that first repetition or you're 5 minutes in, it could be varied amounts of time, but sometime very shortly from now, you're going to get that feedback loop that says, Lee, you did the right thing there. And that's going to make you feel good. It gives you confidence. It gives you confidence in yourself that you can make good decisions. That compounds over time. But people that can't seem to switch those habits on, or they're stuck in the same old tracks, they're stuck in this loop of instant gratification of just wanting the thing right now. Yeah. Whether that's scrolling, whether it's not doing the thing they should be doing.
Do you think that's our natural default? 'Cause isn't it? Aren't humans the only one that will delay gratification? Is every other animal will do whatever it is, will do it instantly, or? Yeah, I think so. Pretty much, isn't it?
They meet their needs right now.
Yeah. So it goes against everything else in nature, really, doesn't it? Because we're able to think into the future multidimensionally and understand that this isn't the best decision and that is, but I can't have it now. So it probably goes against everything primarily in your DNA, doesn't it? So you have to
That's a good point, because I think it's to do with foresight and hindsight. You know, I think anyway that humans are the only ones that can have foresight and hindsight.
Yeah, definitely.
Because every other animal is instinctive.
No, this is it. Yeah,
but they don't have the shit. They don't have the shit that we have available to them. They don't have phones. They don't have.
No, I know. All these, they're probably a lot happier in some regards. Do you know what I mean?
Of course they will be, yeah.
If you ever, so I'm assuming that by the sounds of it, then the approach you take with your coaching through your life experiences is quite a holistic one. Because I found, like, I'm extremely disciplined, unusually disciplined, even for amongst my peers. I'd say, if I'm going to do something, I'm fucking doing it.
Yeah.
And no matter what it is or what I'm doing, and I can do multiple things, and I'm really good at staying on task and not just starting it and then dying off. I'll persevere to the end and I'll do stuff, but then I'm fucking like broken. Like I feel like shit.
You can tell that with you though. I can tell that with you.
So I need to, and I've done it before, but every now and again I need to kind of pull back in, realign, rebalance, because I will succeed at the detriment to my health, my mental health. Even though I'd like to talk about that because it sounds a bit wet, doesn't it? But let's be honest. You know, it is an important issue. Yeah. It's something that we never spoke about in our generation, but people are now. You didn't speak about anything like that. I didn't even say I love you to anyone when I was in the army.
I know, yeah.
Because you're fucking gay.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? People will take the piss out of you. showing emotions. You don't have any emotions apart from anger.
That's I know, yeah. It's the only one you need in the parish.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then you literally live like that, and then you try and do like a normal life, and that doesn't work. Like, because you've got kids, you've got family. That was a real hard integration. You know, talking earlier about coming from the military into Civvy Street, that was the heart of it, because if you block one emotion out, which you do, you don't empathize with stuff. You can't be a soldier, especially an infantry soldier, and empathize with what you're doing, because you're going on operational tours and you're seeing some horrible stuff. And let's be honest, you see stuff, and what's normally, no one's going, oh my God, look at the state of that. It was horrible. I feel terrible. Like I've never, people would be joking about it, and people were taking the piss. And it's like a coping mechanism, because that is totally not what normal people do, apparently. And you're trying to integrate. It's
borderline functioning psychopath.
Exactly. I said this before. You know, I think I was, and for some stage, a borderline functioning just about, and I could hold everything together, but then I'd have an other side of me, an outlet, which I'd have a professional one, and I'd be super good at, and then this other, you know, like the other side, the darker side, and that would have to come out and play every now and again.
Which is, I think this is the thing. I've done a lot of work with this, and we'd spoke about this a lot in the past, well, like the dark and the light and all sort of stuff. And I think, again, you need variety. You need both. It's like two sides of the same coin. It's like the yin yang of life. Everything's about balance. Everything universally is about balance, about positive and negative. It's about up and down. It's about, you know, everything's got an equal and opposite, you know, reaction. So, when it comes to, you know, what it's like, what outfit do you have to wear for what you're doing? So when you go and train, you wear a different outfit than you do when you're doing a podcast or when you're doing a business meeting.
You break into that
or
role.
When you're at home. So you've always got to take one hat off and put another one on. So
that's really good. That is,
if the chapter of your life that you're in is you're a young squaddy, then you need to be a certain way, because that's what's relevant to what you have to do. It's the overall mission is you're part of this unit. You're part of, you know, that unit's part of something bigger than that.
Yeah.
Politically, that's part of something bigger. And whether you're going up the chain or down the chain, it's all part of the same system. So all you are is part of a system. Let's face it. Like would I want my son to join the army? No.
Yeah. Because
I'm a critical thinker, and I don't want him to go and do things that I believe is not with the right intentions in mind, whether it go into a war that is maybe corrupt, to a fucking dodgy corrupt government saying that we'll send people, you know, here, there and everywhere, and then the soldiers or the personnel within the army or other services are kind of, you know, fucking disposable to a point. So from a political standpoint, would I want my son to join the army? Definitely not. Do I think there are things within the ground, the floor level of the army when it comes to discipline and teaching people good values and all that? Do I think that has a place for everybody? Yes, I do. I think there are things within the military that, you know, they're extremely valuable. So when it comes to things like national service, I think that was a good thing, because it taught everyone some good stuff, right? Whether they stayed in or not at the end of that is another question, but there's certainly a lot of good value you can take from that. But whatever's relevant at the time for that part of your life is the way that you have to kind of be. And that's why when we leave and we start thinking retrospectively about the things that we did, about the places we went, whether we'd want our kids to go and do the same thing, what it all means, is it relevant to what I'm doing now? So what am I doing now? I'm a businessman or a family man. Who do I need to be? You know, what do I have to find within myself that's different than what I needed before? So this I think is relevant to like the men over 40 category, because there are certain characteristics that you need when you're going through your first half of life, when you're chasing money, when you're chasing business, when you're chasing women. Yeah, it could be anything, because you know.
So what you care about when you're younger.
All you want to do is
just name the three.
Yeah, and
right, sounds like a good night out.
Because you're hunter gatherer.
Yeah.
As a young man, right? But when you come to the point where you're 40, 45, 50, you don't need to be that. You kind of jettison a lot of the stuff that you used to put to good use early in life, but you think, well, that's not relevant to me now. So what do I need moving forward? Well, one of the things that people need to do is they need to, like we've spoken about this before, is like they need to unpack things and kind of dissolve part of your ego that just doesn't serve you anymore. And it actually sabotages you, I would say. When you try and take that character into other things, if you take the, Lee from the parachute regiment and every single part of him and take him into business life.
You get sacked in every corporate job you could imagine.
It doesn't work. This doesn't work, right? So you need to change things.
Yeah.
And a part of that has to be about learning who you really are.
Yeah.
Because all you've got is this fucking character you've had built. You developed this persona. You've put on layers to get through it, because you've got to go to fucking Afghanistan or Iraq or even deal with daily army life. You're conditioned in a way that you need layers of armor. But when you then move on to your next part of life, that armor has to be dismantled, and it can be frightening, because you've got to then discover who you've left in the rubble earlier on in life.
Yeah.
So for me personally, that was the young, shy, affectionate, loving little boy that was kind of just, you stay in the rubble because I don't need you moving forward, because you're the person I had to get away from being to become what I was. So none of that character served me in my military career. It might have done, but I didn't use that. But then later on in life, I'm like, I've got to rediscover that, because it's part of me who's buried inside.
It's the core of who you are, really, isn't it? Yeah.
It's your true
the
self.
Little boy, isn't it? That therapists say that the one, the injured. Like what's it called? The injured boy or the injured child?
It's like the. I know the term you mean. It's like the. It's the. Oh fucking hell! You've got me now.
It's something like that, anyway, isn't it? Yeah. So
inner child.
The inner child.
Inner child. So you got to unpack it yourself and rediscover who you really are. Because I think really it's about once you've done all the shit you've done your first half of your life, it's about getting to your authentic self.
That's really well put, that is, and that's definitely what you do need to do. And I've experienced that myself and advanced in it, and then almost like regressed again, and then have times where you do advance and you strip a lot away, but then other armor gets added, and you go, I'm here again. Now I need to kind of strip it back. Have you ever experienced that yourself?
Yeah, you do.
It's
you
not
find
just
yourself
done, is it? Well, you don't just do it and I'm done for life now. It's an
it's a bit
ongoing
like
process.
It's like I said earlier about the habit change. It's like it's very easy for those old connections to rewire again.
Yeah,
and that's really part of your character that you built. So you've got this character you built to go through the military and whatnot as a young man, but when you're then unpacking everything and you're trying to develop yourself in a way that's going to serve you moving forward, you're trying to get back to your core, back to your authentic self. Because all we do, we're born, we're conditioned, and a lot of that conditioning is through on a path which is kind of just, it falls in front of us. So the military for us has been a strong part of that path that's created who you are. That's why people always say, "Oh, you're an ex-squaddy." I can tell you're an ex-squaddy because of how you walk or how you talk or how you present yourself. It's really obvious with us. We both still have that massively, because it's a huge part of our conditioning.
Yeah.
So when you're then trying to peel back those layers again, which is something I always say, like, you got to peel back the layers of the character to find the authentic self, because the authentic self's still in there, it's just been buried. But it's your authentic self where the liberation lies.
Yeah. Because
it's only when you can, I think it's even see things like this, going on a podcast. I've got a speaking event tomorrow, for example. I'm looking forward to that. I can tell you now, mate, there was a time, probably up until a couple of years ago, I didn't ever look for. I wanted to do speaking events, but I didn't ever look forward to them. I would get really nervous.
Yeah. Why is that?
Honestly, because I knew at my core that I wasn't really talking authentically.
Oh, right. Okay. I feel like you own stuff more now, and you really want to tell people because you understand it.
I think it's when you kind of, how would I explain this? You almost sort of relax into who you naturally are, unapologetically, and stop trying to be a certain mold. Oh, how should I talk? How should I look? How should I come across? What do people want? It's like, just fucking be your authentic self. And it comes from beliefs. Like, if your beliefs are sincere, if your beliefs are authentic, just put that out there and speak like you're having a conversation across the table with someone that you know. And people feel that, because I think that people will feel, if it's not that way as well, they'll feel inauthenticity.
Yeah. Yeah, you know that when you speak to someone and they're not authentic, you can feel it straight away, can't you? Just quoting stuff off the book. A lot of the guys that I've met that have been in the SAS, as you were, for how long?
So like 6 years?
6 years.
Yeah.
So a lot of the guys I've met from the SAS were all very much aware and very conscious of all this type of functioning of the mind and how it works. So I'm assuming to go through something so difficult, you unpick quite a lot of things and discover who you are and what you're afraid of and manage to overcome that. And do you figure that out along the way? Because I can imagine if I knew everything and all the function of my minds and why I did stuff, I don't think I would have passed a lot of the training. I don't think it would have meant, because I kind of needed to be naive a little bit and blinkered so I could pass that and then unpick things. So, and to have done something like you've done, which is even bigger in the SAS, would you say that would be the case as well? And did you learn that on there, or is this just something you become aware of afterwards?
I'd say most of the stuff I learned about the mind was, I would say, from the age of 30.
And when you were in there?
I left it when I was 30.
Oh, okay. So afterwards, yeah.
Yeah. So some things you do just by default because of the character you have or because of the way you deal with things. And again, retrospectively, you realize what you were doing. So when it comes to things like visualization, so I talk a lot about visualization. From a learned perspective of understanding how it works and realizing that I actually did that when I was younger, I just didn't know I was doing it at the time. It's just something that I did. Kids do it, we all do it. We've all got that ability to visualize, and it's something we almost have to relearn when we're at a certain age, because we stop visualizing. We just become conditioned to the day in, day out stuff. We become busy, we become conditioned, and then we stop having things like, real ambition or beliefs in ourselves that we can do something differently, for example. Hence why people stay in the same job, the same career for a long, long time, because they get to that point where they go, oh, this is what I know, this is what I do, this is my life. So when it comes to learning about the way that the mind works, that was all stuff that I studied, because I got to a point where I felt it was at a dead end. I got to a point, I remember the day it happened. It was 2014. I was competing as a bodybuilder at this point still, and I was doing my morning cardio. And I remember I was walking down the same route I used to take every single day. I'd go out and do my morning cardio for like 40 minutes, whatever it was. And you think about it a lot, and I remember this one day I didn't have my music with me. So I was just walking without my headphones in. And so I was thinking about loads of stuff, and I found myself just going down this fucking rabbit hole with my own thoughts. And I stopped in the road, and I just thought, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Like, I don't even know where my life's going. I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know what I want. I just didn't know who I was. It was like I had this moment of like, who the fuck even am I?
Is that similar to the moment you had when you were in the Highlands and you were thinking about joining the
That was
army?
more clear then.
Was that different? That was like what I needed to do to get away.
Totally different.
You've done all this. You've been in the army for like 12 years or 10 years, however long it was. You've been Special Forces, past SAS selection, which literally no one gets through.
Failed the Marines test,
failed the Marines written exam, ate the crayons. And then you've got this immense self-discipline and ability to achieve pretty much. I bet you felt like, I can do what the fuck I want in life. What's next? Let's do it. And you're doing the next event, bodybuilding, and you're doing that. And then you was like, did you just feel that you just had all this momentum to do something? You're not really sure why.
It was just filling a void.
Yeah.
I mean, I always loved weight
training. So good.
I loved weight training and stuff.
Packing loads of stuff that I went through as well. It's really fun.
We spoke before a lot of length, and we've discovered that. But again, I've always had this kind of mindset of like, what's next? When I feel that's missing, it feels uncomfortable for me. When I feel like I'm stagnating or doing the same thing too much, I'm always looking for the next adventure. What's next? And hence why, we've talked about this in the past, and when I said about starting to experiment with things like psychedelics and going down that route, and going to
trying anything you can just to try and do something different.
I went to Ecuador and all that sort of stuff, and did that. And
was that beneficial?
Yeah, so it helped me. I mean, the people out there, I'd say as well, the shamans and stuff, they sort of helped me realize what's really important at the core level. What we tend to forget, it's like, because it's all to do with like the multi-dimensional fucking fact of the universe. So we're in this 3-dimensional life, experiencing it through our mind and body that we have, and I think that we forget a lot of what's really important, and we focus more on bullshit that isn't so important. Hence why people get to the end of their lives and it doesn't really matter the cars, the Rolexes, the houses. It doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean anything. What really matters is like the people that you spend time around, the connections that you make, the things that you do for other people. The impact that you make and stuff like that. That's the stuff that's going to be giving you sort of some sense of pride and I did okay in this life. I mattered. I made an impact, or I left the place better than what I found it, kind of thing. That mindset. So
add some value, be of some use to the world.
And so for me, when it came to things like that, that's when I had to peel back a lot of layers in that particular experience. When I went to South America, and I was like stripped back to the bare bones, really. It was a very humbling experience because I had to face some really uncomfortable things.
How did that present itself? Was you on ayahuasca, was it?
Yeah, so ayahuasca, San Pedro.
Yeah.
Two very different medicines, but
do you have them together or separate? You do.
Well, in one occasion you have them together, which was
that sounds fun.
That's the bit that I would say that when I thought I wasn't coming back.
Yeah, tell me about that one then.
So you go over there and you do several ceremonies in the space of like 17 days. So I did quite a long retreat. Beautiful place out in Ecuador, and it's a process. They take you through the process, and there's spiritual teachings and stuff, and there's certain rituals that they do because there's having respect for the medicine. It's a very old tradition that they obviously have out in these places. So, it's done in a way that it's and I dabbled with mushrooms and stuff before that as well, quite a bit. So I had to sort of go and learn how to do this because it was like I don't really know what I was doing with it. So I want to know what I'm experiencing. What does it mean? It's like pieces of a jigsaw that you can't really get the full picture with. So it's all about trying to understand yourself.
That's the only reason you took those was purely to unwind.
Yeah. So what do I need to unpack? What is it with it? Because I always knew there was things that needed to come out and things that were causing me a sense of discomfort and lack of happiness and stuff. So I thought, what is it? What do I need to unpack? It was a curiosity of what am I going to find is buried deep within, and that's what that obviously does. So when it comes to things like the ayahuasca ceremonies, that there was a process with that where, people tend to look at ayahuasca and think you go to the jungle, you take a cup of medicine, your whole life is fucking flash in front of your eyes, and you come away with all these answers after one session. It just isn't like that. It takes time and time again. So when you look at what I was saying earlier about the conditioning and the wiring of the nervous system, it's hardwired to a point where whatever you've experienced through your life, the energy that's flowing through that system, there are certain blockages that happen, and it comes from things like trauma. And trauma doesn't need to mean anything horrendous. It's any sort of trauma at the stage of your life where you experience that. It causes blockages.
Could be someone telling you off as a kid.
Yeah, so
if you can remember that experience now as an adult, it's probably had some.
So
impact,
and it's things like how did certain experiences make you feel as a child? So did you feel abandoned? Did you feel unsafe? Did you ever feel that you were struggling in any way? So like when I was a teenager, I had really bad OCD, and that was an episode of my life that I felt it was ruining my life. So I had a lot of that. I think that was buried deep within. And there was a lot of anger that was deep within me as well, which is a major thing. So when I went out there and I went through this experience, there were certain things that were unpacked that I really had no control over because I had to sort of surrender myself to the experience. It's something I was always told before I went there, was like, just let it do its thing. Just don't fight it. Surrender to it, because that's the only way you're gonna get through it.
That's not in the nature, is it?
It's not in the nature, so it goes against everything I know. You go through interrogation, you go through, all the resistance to interrogation, the stress positions, and all that. You're taught to resist.
At all costs, never give in.
Every part of my being is going, fucking fight whatever's in front of you. But I went through this one particular experience, which is one of the most amazing things that's ever happened to me. So I had this shaman lady in front of me, and I had to get carried to this fucking mat in front of a big fire they have in the Maloka, and she says, and I was like expressing this anger, like it was. I laugh about this now, right? But have you ever seen the movie An American Werewolf in London?
Yeah.
You know the bit when he changes into the werewolf? Yeah. That was like fucking me. Like, I felt like I was changing into a werewolf. I was convinced I was going to start fucking sprouting fangs and my face was going to come out, and it was extreme. It was fucking extreme. It was a spectacle, to say the least, in front of like 30 other people.
Was it a lot more severe than mushrooms?
Oh my fucking God. It was
another level.
It was extreme.
Yeah.
The people were backing away and going, this guy's going to turn into the wolf man and fucking run into the forest. Never to be seen again. So it was extreme, but it was a deep rooted anger. It was lots of deep rooted anger. So when this shaman lady, she said, it's a choice. It's a choice to be here. She says, you can choose to go with the resistance and the darkness and fight this. She says, or you can surrender to it and go towards the light. And it sounds a bit out there, and I get that, right? But just run with this, right? That's exactly what happened. And in that moment, they were doing some sort of stuff, like they were sort of like trying to fucking help me and stuff in what they do. And there was two of them sort of trying to sort of exercise this anger out of me. It was like an exorcism almost.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden there was this moment of like I was just dissolving. I collapsed in a heap, and it was this like a white phosphorus light that it was overwhelming. It was an overwhelming sense, white phosphorus type of light that it just surrounded me everywhere, like surrounded my being. It wasn't something physical or tangible. It was just a sense of knowing it was there, and it was extreme. It was when I decided, when she said, do you need to surrender to it? And this is exactly what happened, and everything changed.
So yeah, how do you surrender though? People say to surrender, but you don't like.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't.
Well, you stop
relax.
You stop fighting it.
Yeah, in your mind. Yeah.
Because when you're fighting it, that's when you've got these ghoul type faces and shit in your mind that you can see. You can see it in your mind. Yeah. You know, like when you dream or when you close your eyes and think about something, you can see it with your mind. You can't see it with your physical eyes. But that was one of the experiences. And then the one I was going to mention about when I took the ayahuasca in San Pedro at the same time, being a bit of an extreme kind of person, you know, I asked for more, and I was like, give me a big massive fuck off kind of ayahuasca. So this little shaman lady, she was
fucking take that.
So she laughed. She laughed as she gave me it, and she's just like, she gave me it, and she just laughed and.
If you're going to do it, you might as well do it properly, don't you?
Yeah, but that was. Did
you instantly regret that decision?
No, I was in the hurt locker with that one. Yeah, because I was there. It was hours. I was hours in this 8 hours in the sweat lodge without leaving it. And
should be like an SAS test, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I'm telling you now, right? It was physically challenging. And, you know,
physically challenging.
Yeah, because at one point I was like, I'm not quite sure how much more of this I can take.
Yeah, what to it just existing and experiencing it was too much.
It was like a seizure for fucking 8 hours. It was like, I ended up being by myself. Everyone left, and I was in there by myself.
Good blokes.
Body popping.
Leaving you.
Yeah, but they came in and they
Didn't you have a buddy or something that was going to watch on you while it was happening?
There were people watching it. The people were really good with me, but
yeah,
I was just that 1 out of 30 people who just had a lot more to unpack than the next person.
I bet, yeah.
But they kind of expected that when they asked me what I did and stuff. They kind of expected that because they've experienced it with squaddies and stuff in the past. But when I went through that process, it was almost like a multi-dimensional experience. It was almost like that bit in Interstellar when he's in the fucking bookcase at the end. I could compare it to that. But it was a weird kind of experience because it felt quite frightening. Like it felt scary going into it because I literally felt like I was going into different dimensions of reality.
Do you think it probably was or not?
Who knows?
Or do you think it's metaphorical? But either way,
who fucking knows?
The stuff that happens, you know, when you like unpack stuff on that night and you surrendered, do you think moving forward from that point, it had helped you in life to surrender to what was going on, or was it just an experience that happened then?
So this is an interesting point, right? This is a really, really interesting point that I've spoken about quite a lot in the past to clients and other people. So you get this element of, you know, when you've gone through these experiences, like the many experiences I had, they got better as well. So they became more enjoyable. So towards the end of it, I was having a beautiful time, and it was amazing. You know, the whole experience changed because all your pathways are now unblocked. So the medicine's flowing through and doing its thing in the way it should be. But to get there, you have to unblock a lot of shit, and that's the part that's difficult. That's the part that's the hard work. When you can get to a point where there's no resistance there anymore, you're having a beautiful time. You really are. You're having a full-on metaphysical experience. right? But when you come away from that, this is where I got even more uncertainty, because I'm like, it's almost like a pendulum swinging the other way. So you've got this pendulum that's up in one side, which is your aggression, your anger, your fucking squaddy mentality, all the ego-based stuff, which has got you to where you are at this point in your life. You're living in that plane for a long, long time. So then when you start to unpack this shit and you want to get rid of the resistance, the anger, and almost like peel back the layers and jettison a lot of the stuff that doesn't really do you any good anymore, then you go the other way. And all of a sudden you want world peace. You don't want to have a fucking argument with someone on Facebook. You don't want to stick up for yourself. You just go, hey, don't worry about it. It's okay. I'm this nice guy now. I'm not who I used to be then. 6 months ago I'd have ripped your fucking head off, but I'm going to just tell you to have a nice day now. Right? So that feels uncomfortable.
Because that's not you either, is it?
It's not your
That's you just
self.
swinging right back the other way.
Absolutely. So there's a center point you have to find. And that's what it's all about. It's the balance point, right? And because you need a lot. So the warrior, the fighter, that shit's handy. You need that part of your character because it can save your life. It can save someone else's life. It can make you not be a doormat in a relationship. You need that part of that fiery part, that darkness. You need a bit of that still kept alive. It's when people try to dissolve all that and become this spiritual hippie and start wearing fucking tie-dye t-shirts and beads.
Or live just as that ego character.
It's almost like a spiritual narcissist.
Yeah.
There's plenty of them out there.
Yeah.
And they're not, you can tell it's bullshit, right? It comes across in a way that's like, get away from me, you weirdo, because they're not authentically like that, because they used to be this character that they're now not, and then they're trying to be this new person. It's like, it doesn't work. But you've got to balance the two. You need a bit of the old self. You need a bit of that rascality, that darkness, because you might still need that character in certain times in life. But equally, you need to be a bit softer, a bit more empathetic.
Yeah.
And as a coach, that's where it's done me a lot of good, because I used to be the my way or the highway type approach to coaching. What the fuck, get on with it, you fucking pussy. Dry your eyes and get on with it. Get your fucking tampon out and fucking lift the weights, right? Sorry about the language, by the way. But metaphorically, that's kind of how I was. And it worked for us. It would have worked with you, because that's the way you're wired like me.
Yeah.
It works for people like you, but there's a whole load of people who aren't like that. You go, oh, that guy's nasty. He made me cry. So you have to find more empathy, because when you've got empathy, people will trust you. People will open up to you.
They follow you then properly because they want to. That's the difference,
you.
isn't it? In the army,
you
have to. There's a structure, and they're in charge of you. Shit rolls downhill, and you do as you're told by the person above you. But that doesn't work in Civvy Street, because people can leave and just walk away. So
I watched a podcast the other day actually about footballers, and it was it might have just been one of those YouTube shorts or whatever. But Rio Ferdinand was talking about when he was at Manchester United, when they were in it was a very much a squaddy mentality. Like they would have that same approach to things. They weren't allowed to talk about emotions. You weren't allowed to, They're good
though, aren't they?
Yeah.
You're talking about the team as well.
They were good, they're shit now.
Yeah, they are shit now.
But it was very much the same approach.
Yeah.
Like, there was no room for emotion. So it's a similar thing in football. And again, at long term, down the road, it doesn't do you any good at the time. To achieve the mission. If you're a sports person, if you're a soldier, if you're someone who's in business who's just target driven for money and this cutthroat industry, then you have to be a certain way. It's not for everybody, right? So that's why, look at Wall Street in the 80s, probably still now, but the whole fucking system is fueled by cocaine and shit like that. But that's what they have to do. It's not for me. I wouldn't ever do that. But their mission is to make money. So they have to have a lot of energy. So they do certain things that are fucking not good for you, but they do it anyway. So it's about when it all boils down to the individual, it comes down to, who do you really want to be at your core? Who do you need to be moving forward? What version of yourself do you need to live the life that you want? Yeah,
and also achieve all the things without causing disaster around you. Being in a good place emotionally and spiritually yourself.
Yeah.
Because anyone can achieve stuff and just at the detriment to anything else around it. Do you know what I mean? I spent my lifetime doing that when it's all ego driven, isn't it? And
absolutely.
but you've got to get to the finish line or maybe you don't get to the finish line. Maybe the finish line isn't important. Maybe it's the journey.
It's always
like
a journey,
the old
isn't
analogy, isn't it? You actually
yeah.
enjoying the process of.
I think that. Yeah. I think it's like it should be like an ever receding horizon.
Yeah,
it's always moving away a little bit.
It needs to be. I mean, a friend of mine died last week.
Sorry, you're
really close friend of mine. Had a heart. He's an ex-military guy as well. Lee Sanson, his name is. And he just dropped dead. Heart attack, 62, 63, I think he was at home. Got a younger family as well. He's got older family.
I think I might have heard about that one.
Yeah, a bodyguard. He used to be Princess Diana's bodyguard. He had a book out called we still got it out, called The Bodyguard.
Right.
And I was speaking to my other mate about it because it hit everyone hard because he's fucking invincible. And he's so motivated and he's very charismatic. Walk in a room and it instantly, everybody's like, well, who's this guy?
Yeah.
And was looking at a message. We found a message from him on the WhatsApp, and it was in January talking about how positive, how good this year is going to be, how motivated he is, what he's got coming on. He's going to smash it, and was like, well, fucking hell. Like, he didn't know when he wrote that he'd only got a few months left. So, the destination, sometimes you might not even get there, isn't it? You do need to be more focused in on the now and enjoying it, because once you get to that destination, then you're looking at the next one. This is what you like when you're goal orientated, you know what I mean? And then the next one, and then you're never really kind of happy when you've got there. You never get there, do you, to the actual, even when you got to the goal, it doesn't feel like you expected it to feel like, does it?
Yeah.
You don't feel happy and complete still.
Well, here's the thing, but it's an interesting point there, because when we get to a certain point of usually adulthood, we become very past or future thinking, and we miss out the present, right? So a lot of things like,
right.
Like how many guys you know that were in the military who think, oh yeah, remember that time, the good old days.
Yeah.
But at the time, they weren't present. They weren't appreciating it enough at the time.
They were moaning a lot when they
moaned a lot. Yeah,
most of the people in there were moaning when they're in, and look back and say how good it was.
Yeah, or do it all again. No, you fucking wouldn't, because you moaned your way through it. You were shit. You were a shit soldier. So but it's the same as having kids. Like, they grow up so fast, and then you remember. I remember when they were that size. That was cute. And were you really present in the moment at the time? A lot of people struggle with that these days, because there's a lot going on. They can't be present. It's
a hard time in your life, that is, when your kids are little. What
I've learned to do more so than ever is be really present. I think things like meditation help you with that as well. But I have moments like if I'm somewhere with my son, for example, or if both my kids are there, or I'd go and spend the day with my daughter. But could you be just meeting her for lunch? I always try my best to be present and go, absorb the moment with no distractions, and be really present and appreciate it in the now.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be even better in the future, but at least you can look back and go, I remember that, and I was really present.
Yeah.
I appreciated it at the time. I think that's a really valuable lesson. It's such a basic thing to do. But I'd say if anyone listened to this just now, if they can just try that, the things that are really important to them, be conscious at the time and say, right, I'm so lucky right now to have this person in my life, or, I'll remember this moment, and just be in the moment, be really in the moment. Then you'll never regret that. Whereas sometimes people regret not being present in the moment. It's like one of the last times my dad ever called me, like my dad died when he was 61 back in 2008, so quite a long time ago. But I remember this one night that used to haunt me, because I was busy, I think, and he'd usually call me once a week. He was always pissed. He'd always be fucking off his tits, right? But he'd call me, and then he'd be talking about stuff, and a lot of time he'd just go on. And I'd be like, yeah. And I'd be like, fucking hell, Dad, fucking hell. How long is it going to take? So then I remember this one night that my dad called me, and I didn't answer the phone. I purposely didn't answer the phone. I just let it ring.
You do anything for a phone call?
Because I was, and what would I give for that phone call now? I can't have it now. So it's an example of, appreciate these things in the moment when they're there, because you might not get another chance.
Yeah.
That's a really important one,
Brilliant, mate. Yeah. Well, that's a great way to finish the podcast, I think, on that little message. But thank you so much for coming down today. It's been really interesting speaking to you. And very enlightening as well. I've really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, mate, I've loved it, honestly. I could talk for days.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks very much, mate.